The night was pierced by a sudden, inexplicable cry, a woman's sobbing echoing through the silent village. No electricity illuminated the huts clustered beneath the vast canopy of stars, only flickering shadows cast by flickering candle flames. She stood at the edge of the village, clutching a small worn token, a remnant of a past she barely understood but could never forget. Raised in a place untouched by modern light, where darkness was a constant companion, her world was one where phones were dreams whispered, but never realized. Yet in her eyes burned a fierce hope, a determination that defied the shadows around her. She had grown up watching the horizon hunger for change, feeling the sting of nights filled with silence and missed connections. "I will bring light," she whispered to the wind, her voice trembling but unwavering. This was no ordinary promise. It was a rebellion against the darkness, a vow to transform not just her fate but the fate of every voice lost in the night. The village, once resigned to silence, was about to hear a new song, a melody powered by the sun and fueled by relentless courage. Her journey from this powerless place to the forefront of innovation was a story stitched with pain, betrayal, and unyielding faith. But beneath every triumph lay scars no light could instantly heal, secrets that weighed heavy and truths that threatened to shatter everything she had built. This was her beginning, where the quiet desperation of a powerless childhood met the blazing possibility of a solar-powered revolution. Her childhood was a portrait of simplicity and struggle, framed by a life without the hum of electricity or the glow of screens. Days were spent in the sun, evenings swallowed by darkness that offered little comfort beyond the crackle of fires. Family stories spoke of a world electrified beyond the hills, but it seemed like a distant dream to her. The phone she would one day create was a symbol of that dream, a bridge between her village and a future she refused to accept as impossible. She learned early that ingenuity was born from necessity, crafting makeshift tools and circuits from scraps and discarded parts. The villagers watched her with a mix of skepticism and awe, some dismissing her ideas as foolish, others quietly hopeful. She carried the weight of expectation silently, the token in her pocket a reminder of what was lost and what could be regained. Every night, under a canopy of stars, she dreamed of a world powered by light, where voices could travel without barriers, and hope would outshine despair. The journey ahead was uncertain, riddled with obstacles of doubt, poverty, and betrayal. But the fire within her was unquenchable, a relentless beacon that would soon ignite a revolution powered by the sun. Her first attempts were met with failure, panels that barely captured sunlight, phones that never rang, and whispered doubts that crept from the shadows. Yet, failure was a language she quickly learned to understand, each mistake a lesson etched into her resolve. There were moments when loneliness overwhelmed her, the silence of the village stretching wide and cold. But from this isolation came clarity, a sharpening of purpose. She reached out beyond her community, connecting with distant engineers through borrowed phones and borrowed time, absorbing knowledge like a parched land soaking in rain. It was during one of these exchanges that she heard about a program supporting clean energy entrepreneurs. Hope, once a fragile ember, began to blaze into a fierce flame. Yet, not everyone was ready to see her succeed. Envy and fear lurked among those who preferred the village to remain as it was, quiet, powerless, untouched. Her vision challenged old orders and comfort zones alike, setting her on a path fraught with resistance, but also remarkable allies. With each setback, her network grew, silent supporters who saw the promise in her work. She found a mentor, a reluctant figure with expertise and guarded hope, who challenged her to think beyond survival and imagine impact. Late nights turned into strategy sessions, plans unfolded on scrap paper, and dreams took shape in graphs and budgets. But trust was fragile. Some who smiled warmly in her presence whispered doubts behind closed doors. Betrayal was a constant shadow, its weight pressing down on her shoulders as she balanced hope with caution. Still, the village began to notice changes. The faint glow of solar lights here, the soft buzz of a working phone there. Small miracles that spoke louder than words. Every flicker of success was a beacon in the darkness, proving that the impossible was within reach. She refused to let fear dictate her future, pushing forward with a quiet tenacity that inspired those around her and unnerved those who doubted her. The first solar-powered phone call was more than a technological feat. It was a symbol of resilience and hope for her entire community. As the call connected, faces lit with disbelief and joy, tears mingling with laughter under the glow of solar lamps. But success brought new challenges. Whispers of sabotage and threats hinted at forces unwilling to see her rise. The path forward was no longer just about innovation but survival. Her resolve hardened, the token in her pocket now a talisman of everything she fought for. She knew the journey was far from over, but this moment, this victory, was a testament to the power of dreaming beyond limitations. The village was no longer just a place of darkness, but a beacon of change, a testament to a woman who dared to light the way. The initial triumph had sparked a wildfire of curiosity beyond the village's borders. She received messages from distant towns and cities, requests for solar kits and phones, words of encouragement from strangers who saw in her a spark of something larger. Yet, the expanding reach exposed new challenges. Logistics tangled with bureaucratic hurdles. Skepticism morphed into resistance from entrenched powers. Each shipment of solar panels had to be guarded, each meeting weighed by tension. The woman's vision was no longer just a local dream but a growing movement. She grappled with balancing innovation with community safety, learning that progress demanded patience and strategy as much as passion. As the seasons shifted, so too did her role, from creator to leader, advocate to protector. Her nights filled with plans scribbled under the glow of a single lamp, her days a whirlwind of meetings, deliveries, and growing responsibility. The village watched in awe and apprehension, seeing not just the woman they knew but a symbol of change stirring the winds of a new era. Success bred jealousy and fear among those who thrived in the old order. Rumors swirled, whispers of sabotage floated through market squares and whispered behind closed doors. The woman's phone buzzed with warnings, threats cloaked in polite tones. She sensed eyes watching her every move, unknown hands trying to unsettle the fragile progress. Still, her resolve hardened. She convened secret meetings with trusted allies, forming a protective circle of support. The stakes were higher now. The dream was no longer just hers, but a lifeline for countless families in darkness. Each day brought new obstacles, power outages, stolen equipment, and fractured trust. Yet, the fire inside her refused to dim. She sharpened her resolve, knowing that true change demanded sacrifice and courage beyond the bright glow of a solar lamp. The village, once hesitant, now stood with her, their unity a shield against shadows seeking to snuff out the dawn. Amidst turmoil, innovation pressed forward. New designs emerged. Solar panels became sleeker, more efficient, portable enough for homes and schools. She partnered with engineers who shared her vision, their collaboration a dance of ideas and tireless work. Community workshops taught villagers to maintain and repair equipment, spreading knowledge like seeds on fertile ground. The village transformed. Evenings once silent now buzzed softly with the hum of charging devices and glowing lamps. Children studied late into the night, parents connected to faraway relatives, and the air filled with stories of progress. Yet with growth came complexity. Supply chains stretched thin. Funds ran low, and patience wore thin. Still, her leadership shone brightest here, bridging gaps between dreams and reality, urging everyone to believe in the power of persistence. Each success was hard-won, a testament to collective strength fueled by a single woman's unwavering hope. But progress drew attention from forces beyond the village, corporate interests and government officials who viewed her movement with suspicion or greed. Invitations to meetings in distant cities tested her resolve, tempting offers blurred with veiled threats. She faced a crossroads: surrender the dream for safety or push further into uncertain territory. Alone in hotel rooms with flickering fluorescent lights, she wrestled with doubts and fears, questioning if her fight was worth the growing cost. But memories of dark nights in her childhood, of voiceless ancestors and silent homes, fueled her courage. She chose to stand firm. Her vision was bigger than herself, a beacon for those still living in shadows. Calls with her village anchored her resolve. Their hope was her compass. The battle ahead was not just for technology but for dignity, justice, and a future where light belonged to all. Returning to the village, she found a community transformed by hope and resilience. The solar network had expanded, villages once isolated, now connected by light and voice. But with growth came new responsibilities, training new leaders, managing resources, and defending their hard-earned gains. Token in her pocket had become a symbol of unity and perseverance, a reminder of humble beginnings and lofty dreams. As she walked through sunlit fields, children greeted her with bright smiles and eager questions, the air filled with laughter and possibility. She understood her journey was far from over, that the path of change was winding and long. But this moment, standing among those she had inspired, was proof that even the darkest nights could give way to dawn. Her fight was no longer solitary. It was a movement, a light strong enough to banish shadows for generations to come. The movement's momentum surged beyond all expectations, capturing national attention and inspiring global curiosity. Invitations poured in from international conferences and innovation summits. Yet behind the applause lay new challenges, navigating political intrigue, corporate sponsorships, and the delicate balance between integrity and compromise. She became a symbol of grassroots innovation, a beacon to millions yearning for change. But success came with isolation, as allies turned into competitors and the weight of leadership settled heavily on her shoulders. Late nights blurred into early mornings, strategies rewritten in hurried notes, every decision carrying the weight of countless hopes. Yet, amid the chaos, her core mission remained unchanged, to ensure that the light of progress reached even the darkest corners, untainted and unstoppable. She faced criticism from skeptics who questioned the sustainability and scalability of her work. Media headlines painted her as either a miracle worker or a naive dreamer. The pressure to deliver tangible results mounted, stretching resources thin. At times doubt gnawed at her resolve, but each story from a village transformed. Each voice connected, rekindled her fire. Her team grew, with experts in technology, finance, and community development joining the cause. Together, they tackled regulatory hurdles and engineered innovative financing models. Every step was a balancing act between rapid expansion and maintaining the grassroots spirit that fueled their beginnings. The journey was riddled with obstacles, but her vision burned brighter than ever, a testament to resilience born from the deepest shadows. Her story inspired countless others, sparking similar initiatives in far-flung regions. Partnerships blossomed across continents, weaving a tapestry of shared knowledge and technology. Yet, with expansion came complexity. Cultural clashes, logistical nightmares, and the constant threat of burnout. She leaned heavily on her team, cultivating a culture of collaboration and mutual respect. They innovated not just products but processes, embracing adaptability as a core value. The work was exhausting but exhilarating, each success a lifeline to communities once forgotten. She often reflected on her humble beginnings, the token still tucked away in her desk drawer, a silent reminder of the journey from darkness to light. Her mission was no longer just technology. It was about empowerment, dignity, and building a future shaped by those who had once lived in silence. Amid global success, personal sacrifices weighed heavily. Time with family dwindled, friendships frayed, and moments of solitude became rarer. She grappled with the loneliness of leadership, the burden of expectations both seen and unseen. Yet, these trials deepened her resolve. Her vision was no longer just a project, but a legacy, a promise to those whose voices had long been unheard. Through setbacks and breakthroughs, she remained grounded by the memories of her village, the faces of those who believed in her. Every challenge reaffirmed the necessity of her work, every victory a tribute to collective courage. In quiet moments, she would hold the token close, drawing strength from the journey etched into its worn surface. Her story was not just about light, but about the human spirit's indomitable will to rise and shine. The journey culminated in a moment of profound recognition. the global community finally embraced the vision she had nurtured from a flicker to a blaze. Awards and honors came, but more meaningful were the countless lives touched, the villages illuminated, and the barriers broken. Her story became a beacon for dreamers everywhere, proof that courage, resilience, and unwavering hope could light even the darkest paths. As she stood once more beneath the vast canopy of stars, she knew the journey was ongoing. Light would always need guardians. Yet in that moment, surrounded by new generations inspired by her example, she allowed herself a rare smile. The token in her pocket was no longer just a symbol of the past, but a promise for the future, a future bright, shared, and forever changed. With the world watching, new threats emerged: economic instability, shifting political tides, and the growing tension between grassroots ideals and global market forces. The woman found herself navigating a labyrinth of alliances and betrayals. Every handshake came with hidden agendas, every smile masked out. Yet amidst the chaos, her core mission remained a constant beacon. Her team expanded, now a complex network of visionaries and pragmatists, striving to balance innovation with ethical responsibility. She faced sleepless nights wrestling with questions about sustainability, inclusion, and whether the rapid scale might overshadow the movement's soul. Her speeches became calls for unity, reminding all that technology was only as powerful as the people behind it. The journey had evolved, no longer just about solar panels, but about redefining power itself, making light a right, not a privilege. Back in the village, the community felt the ripples of global pressures. Resources tightened, debates flared, and old tensions re-emerged. The woman returned with renewed determination, but also humility. She knew leadership meant listening as much as guiding. Town hall meetings lasted late into the night, voices clashing yet seeking common ground. She introduced new initiatives: microfinance for solar businesses, education programs on sustainability, and forums to amplify women's voices. Change was no longer a distant ideal, but a daily struggle and triumph. She witnessed transformation, not only in infrastructure, but in hearts and minds, as people reclaimed agency over their futures. The journey demanded resilience, reminding her that the light she fought for was forged in collective courage, born from community. As innovation pushed boundaries, she faced an ethical dilemma when a lucrative partnership proposed expansion at the cost of environmental safeguards. The promise was tempting: rapid scale, wider reach, substantial funds. But the price was steep, compromising core values and risking harm to fragile ecosystems. She convened her inner circle for fierce debate, weighing progress against principle. The woman wrestled with the burden of choices that could define the movement's legacy. In quiet reflection beneath starlit skies, memories of her village's rivers and forests reminded her of the sacred balance between growth and stewardship. Ultimately, she chose integrity over expedience, risking backlash but preserving the movement's heart. The decision reaffirmed her belief that true progress uplifts without destruction, and that courage often means saying no. The rejection of the partnership ignited controversy, media scrutiny, political pressure, and a wave of public debate. She became a lightning rod for polarized opinions, praised as a principled leader, and criticized as an obstacle to progress. The woman endured the storm with grace, using the spotlight to articulate a vision of sustainable innovation that honored people and planet. She traveled to universities and forums, engaging young minds and thought leaders, fostering dialogue across divides. Her story evolved from personal to universal, an emblem of hope in a fractured world. The tension between idealism and pragmatism sharpened her resolve and expanded her perspective. Through conflict, she found deeper understanding that leadership was not just about victories, but about holding space for complexity and growth. Returning home again, she saw the fruits of perseverance reflected in the bright faces of a new generation. Schools powered by solar energy buzzed with learning and laughter. Women-led cooperatives thrived, blending tradition with innovation. The village had become a beacon for regional transformation, proof that resilience and integrity could rewrite futures. The woman knew the work was never finished, but felt profound gratitude for how far they had come. The token, now worn smooth and familiar, rested against her heart as a symbol of enduring hope. Together they looked forward, not just to more light, but to a future shaped by shared dreams, collective wisdom, and the unyielding courage to shine against the darkness. The world had changed. Energy poverty was no longer inevitable, but a challenge met with ingenuity and heart. The woman, now recognized globally, stood at the forefront of a movement redefining power and justice. Her path had been fraught with hardship and triumph, sacrifice and celebration. She reflected on the humble beginnings, the solitary nights spent dreaming beneath dim lamps, the fierce determination that refused to fade. With renewed energy, she embarked on new frontiers, partnering with innovators, governments, and communities to bridge divides and deepen impact. The journey was far from over, but her vision burned brighter than ever. It was a promise: light and dignity for all, a future where no one was left in darkness. She championed new technologies, energy storage, smart grids, and community-driven innovation, ensuring accessibility remained paramount. Her leadership emphasized inclusivity, empowering marginalized voices to lead their own futures. The movement had become a global family, weaving together diverse cultures and experiences. She spent days in remote villages, nights at international summits, bridging worlds with empathy and vision. Her story was no longer just about solar power. It was about human connection, resilience, and the unstoppable force of hope. Every handshake, every shared story, deepened her conviction that true change required both innovation and heart. Yet with scale came complexity: bureaucratic red tape, geopolitical tensions, and the ever-present risk of complacency. She faced moments of exhaustion and doubt, questioning if the movement could sustain its soul amid global pressures. But each story of a child studying by solar light, each smile of a mother no longer burdened by smoke, rekindled her spirit. She leaned on her team, cultivating resilience and innovation at every level. The woman believed that sustainable change was not a destination, but a journey, one defined by continual learning, adaptation, and unwavering commitment to justice. Her legacy would be a living movement, evolving and growing as the world changed around it. Amidst this whirlwind, she sought balance, moments of stillness and reflection amid ceaseless activity. She returned often to her village, grounding herself in the familiar rhythms of life and nature. Here, the token worn around her neck felt like a heartbeat connecting past and future. She walked fields bathed in twilight, listening to elders' stories and children's laughter, remembering that the truest power came from roots and relationships. The woman embraced her role as both visionary and steward, knowing that lasting change must grow from deep soil and tender care. In these quiet moments, she found strength to face the challenges ahead and joy in the light they had kindled together. Her story inspired a new generation, young leaders who carried her vision forward, each adding their own light to the movement's ever-growing flame. Together, they envisioned a world where energy justice was universal, and innovation was guided by empathy and equity. The woman stood among them, proud and hopeful, knowing the journey was continuous, built on shared dreams and collective courage. Token, now a cherished heirloom, symbolized not only her beginnings, but the endless possibilities of tomorrow. As stars shimmered above the village once cloaked in darkness, she smiled. Her fight was far from over, but the light was unstoppable, radiant, and forever shared. The dawn of a new era stirred the air as the woman stood on the precipice of unprecedented challenges. Climate change accelerated, governments fractured, and old power structures trembled under the weight of reform. Yet hope flickered brighter than ever. She led an international coalition dedicated to equitable energy access, weaving together technology, diplomacy, and grassroots activism. The journey tested her like never before. Long negotiations demanded patience, cultural divides required empathy. Despite setbacks, she saw glimmers of unity, a shared vision of a sustainable, just future. Every breakthrough was hard-won, reminding her that resilience was not merely enduring, but transforming adversity into momentum. In bustling urban centers, the coalition unveiled innovative solar microgrids, empowering low-income neighborhoods. The woman visited one such community, greeted by eager children and proud elders. The technology was more than infrastructure, it was dignity and possibility. She walked through streets humming with life and hope, witnessing firsthand the tangible impact of decades-long dedication. The smiles, the laughter, and the newfound security were the real rewards beyond numbers and reports. She knew the path ahead remained complex, but these moments crystallized her mission: to light the darkest corners with justice, compassion, and ingenuity. Backstage at a global climate summit, she faced critics who questioned the pace and scale of change. The woman responded with unwavering clarity. Transformation was a marathon, not a sprint. She emphasized the importance of inclusive leadership and learning from local wisdom. The media buzzed, voices clashed, but she stood firm, articulating a vision that embraced complexity and humility. Her journey taught her that true leadership required vulnerability, acknowledging imperfection while inspiring collective courage. Through fierce debates and fragile alliances, the movement grew stronger, reminding the world that hope was a powerful act of defiance against despair. Amid the spotlight, she nurtured the roots that grounded her, quiet visits to rural villages where stories of resilience flourished. The woman listened deeply to elders and youth, weaving their wisdom into evolving strategies. Each conversation reinforced the principle that technology must serve humanity, not dominate it. She championed education and capacity building, ensuring communities owned their futures. Her leadership blended vision with service, global ambition with local care. This balance became a beacon, drawing others to join a movement that was as much about heart as hardware, spirit as systems. Together, they reimagined power as connection and stewardship. As momentum surged, new challenges emerged: cybersecurity threats, corporate interests pushing back, and global crises demanding rapid adaptation. The woman convened her diverse team, blending technologists, activists, and diplomats to innovate resilient strategies. Her leadership style had matured, embracing complexity with grace and determination. She reminded all that progress required vigilance, courage, and humility. In moments of exhaustion, the community's shared vision reignited her spirit. She believed deeply that light, literal and metaphorical, could not be extinguished by darkness. Together, they would persist, adapt, and illuminate the future for generations to come. The world reached a tipping point as renewable energy infrastructures expanded exponentially. The woman watched from a vantage point of hard-earned wisdom and quiet pride. The movement she had helped nurture blossomed into a global network, a living tapestry of innovation, courage, and justice. Her story became a symbol, shared across continents, inspiring new leaders and communities. Yet, she remained grounded, aware that the work of transformation was never complete. The dawn ahead was filled with possibility and uncertainty. She embraced both with an open heart, knowing that light required constant tending and that every individual spark mattered. Her efforts had seeded a paradigm shift. Energy justice became a core human right, woven into global policy and practice. She traveled to meet young activists, listening and learning, passing the torch with humility. The woman saw herself reflected in their fierce determination and creative spirit. Each new initiative carried her legacy forward, while blossoming into unique expressions of local culture and need. She celebrated this dynamic evolution, recognizing that the future was not a single story, but a mosaic. Through collaboration, innovation, and relentless hope, they co-created a world where no one lived in darkness. But progress remained fragile. Emerging global crises, from environmental upheaval to social unrest, reminded the woman that vigilance was essential. She spearheaded emergency response initiatives, integrating solar power for disaster relief and resilience building. Her leadership blended urgency with compassion, strategy with heart. Each success deepened her belief that technology's true power lay in its capacity to serve the most vulnerable. She spoke candidly about the need for solidarity and adaptability, urging the world to remember that sustainability was an ongoing commitment, a collective responsibility that transcended borders. As the years passed, the woman found solace in mentorship, guiding the next generation with stories, wisdom, and encouragement. She fostered networks of empowered leaders who could navigate the complexities of a rapidly changing world. Her focus shifted from frontline leadership to nurturing resilience in others. The movement became self-sustaining, a garden tended by many hands. Yet, she remained a steady presence, an anchor and inspiration, reminding all that even the smallest light could ignite change. In this shared legacy, she found peace, knowing her journey was part of something greater, endless as the stars. Under a vast sky shimmering with countless stars, the woman stood once more in her village, the token resting gently against her chest. The journey that began with a single spark had illuminated the world in ways she had only dared to dream. She smiled, feeling the pulse of countless lives intertwined with hers. The light was no longer hers alone. It belonged to everyone who dared to hope, to build, and to believe. As night deepened, she whispered a quiet vow to nurture this flame forever, knowing that as long as people dared to shine, the darkness would never prevail.